What is going on, everybody? Sports Expert here, and we are here with our Week 6 NFL Power Rankings. And before we start the video, please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, turn on the post notification bell, like the video, and comment what you think. Liking and commenting what you think, commenting about the Power Rankings, what you change, what you like, helps in the algorithm, so would appreciate that very much. Helps the channel out, helps the NFL community as a whole out on YouTube. So let's get right into it. As at 32, we have the New England Patriots coming off a 15-10 home loss against the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots look rough. They look like they're going to be in contention for the first overall pick again. It's only a matter of time until Drake May steps on the field and gets some run. But do you want it to be this season because the Patriots' offense is in rough shape? Maybe you wait until next year where Drake May can just learn for a year and be in a new-look offense, which is more fresh to him. But we'll see. But Travis Hunter might be on the way, folks. So, yeah. At 31, we have the Carolina Panthers, and they are coming off a blowout loss at the Chicago Bears, 36-10. Andy Dalton is not helping out too much. I know they got one win against the Raiders, but the Raiders are a pretty poor team. The Carolina Panthers, I'm not sure what's going on right now, but obviously, it's a work in progress with Dave Canales, but that's not too surprising. The defense is just getting gashed, especially with the injuries such as Shaq Thompson being out, which is just not ideal. At 30, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars getting their first win of the season, coming off a win against the Indianapolis Colts. Good win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tank Bigsby had a really good game, and Trevor Lawrence, although he did throw an interception, he has had his moments. Brian Thomas looks like a future stud there, and Doug Peterson is on the board. At 29, we have the Cleveland Browns, and they are coming off a pretty poor loss against the Washington Commanders, 34-13. The score looked worse than it did, and yeah, it's only a matter of time until the Cleveland Browns turn to Jameis Winston. They're just not getting it done with Deshaun Watson out there, and Kevin Stefanski's starting to get really frustrated, as you can tell. At 28, we have the Las Vegas Raiders, and they are coming off a pretty poor blowout loss at the Denver Broncos. The Broncos were very physical and tough, and the Raiders just weren't able to outmatch. Max Crosby, it was back for the Raiders, but didn't really make a difference. No, I mean, the quarterback changes come. Aiden O'Connell will be there, and it's only a matter of time until Devontae Adams is dealt. At 27, we have the Miami Dolphins coming off a win. They got a win with Tyler Huntley, 15-10 at the New England Patriots. The Dolphins played really well defensively. They were very opportunistic about their play calling. It was a solid game overall for the Dolphins. Very well coached by Mike McDaniel, despite the resources he had. At 26, we have the Los Angeles Rams, and they are coming off a 24-19 loss against the Packers. Once again, the Rams are shorthanded, but they find ways to compete. Sean McVay-led teams always do that, and looking at the Rams, they're not a terrible team. They just have a lot of injuries, and with a couple of their star wideouts, they probably go and beat Green Bay. So, honestly, they've had some encouraging signs this season, but, you know, as Bill Parcells said, you are what your record is. At 25, we have the Tennessee Titans. They are on a bye week. They had that 31-12 win against the Miami Dolphins on Monday night. They look a little more physical. They look a bit more lively under Mason Rudolph, and maybe that's where things can turn here for the Titans. At 24, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. They are also coming off a bye week, but they are 2-2. Their wins are against the Raiders and the Panthers. Nothing too inspiring there. Only have 2 wins, but 24 is going to do it for them. The talent isn't absolutely immense on this team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And Jim Harbaugh is going to have a tough time getting these guys going because this Chargers team, I mean, it's just not very inspiring. But we'll see. At 23, we have the Cincinnati Bengals coming off a 41-38 overtime loss against the Baltimore Ravens. The offense looked good again. That's the good news. The bad news is the defense once again looks abysmal. So, yeah, there's just not much to say there. Guys like Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt, who were very good a couple years ago, just aren't the same now. They've had Akeem Davis-Gaither step up for them, but that's really it for their defense if you want to talk about a bright spot. But the Bengals, they just haven't been able to get it going on defense. Anarumo could be in trouble. At 22, we have the New York Jets. They are coming off a 23-17 loss against the Minnesota Vikings in London. Aaron Rodgers looks like a shell of himself. 3 interceptions, doesn't move as well, and he even admitted that. So it could be a work in progress for the Jets, and Robert Saleh's job is definitely in danger. There's no doubt about it. At 21, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and they are coming off a loss against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lose to the only winless team, but they were underdogs in that game. They were very banged up. Joe Flacco didn't look too bad, although there were some risky throws he made in that game. But the Colts, they should be getting Anthony Richardson back sooner than later, and the only thing they should be prioritizing right now is the health of their players. At 20, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're coming off a bye week this week, as they will be looking to prepare for the next few weeks. I mean, looking at it, Nick Sirianni's going to have to change some things up. I mean, he's already on a hot seat. You know, Philly fans are getting fed up, and it's just one of those things where if it doesn't get better quick, they're 3-10 in their last 13 games. I'm not sure what could happen. So, yeah. At 19, we have the New Orleans Saints, and they are playing Monday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs. We actually have that as an upset in our picks. We have the Saints winning, but Saints, we are not too high on them over here, but looking at it, I do think there is life with this team still. Alvin Kamara and Derek Carr can definitely cause some havoc. Crystal Olave, Rashid Shaheed. I mean, can the defense stay consistent? That's the question. And can the coaching... What my worry about the Saints is the coaching. Can their coaching stand to the challenge? I'm not too sure if I'm a huge believer in Dennis Allen, but there's definitely talent here. At 18, we have the San Francisco 49ers, a very interesting case. Another loss, another close loss, 24-23 against the Arizona Cardinals. Brock Purdy threw an interception at the end of the game. And the 49ers, another team that is just not well coached right now. I mean, if the 49ers, say they miss the playoffs, that's got to be it for Shanahan, you'd think. It just isn't getting over the hump with that team. Sure, they made the Super Bowl with all that talent, but does it really mean anything when you're just squandering chance by chance? I mean, it's just not the most ideal situation. On the bright side, Brandon Ayuk had a great game, making that $32 million contract worth. So, yeah. At 17, we have the New York Giants. They're coming off a dominant 29-20 win against the Seattle Seahawks. Don't let the scoreboard bug you. The New York Giants should have won this game like 38-13. I mean, this was just utter domination from the start. I mean, I think what happened with Seattle, I think they just took the Giants too lightly. They saw Malik Neighbors and Devin Singletary off from the roster, and they were like, hey, we're going to go in here and cruise. You know, we don't know what they're going to give us. We're just going to kind of settle in and dominate. But no, I think the lack of film on a lot of these guys really hurt Seattle. And, I mean, Seattle's defense really hasn't looked that impressive this year. They allowed 20 to a horrendous New England offense. They allowed 20 to Denver's offense, who isn't particularly great. Their defense just really isn't playing well. 42 to the Lions. It's just... I know, but I mean, the Giants were able to take advantage. Darius Slayton had an incredible game. Daniel Jones was very poised in this game, and they were very disciplined. So, hats off to the Giants. At 16, we have the Arizona Cardinals, and they are coming off a pretty solid win against the San Francisco 49ers. Kyler Murray did his thing, played a very good game overall, and credit to Jonathan Gannon and his staff. His defense really showed out in the second half against Brock Purdy. Sent a lot of pressure. The coverages were absolutely superb. I mean, all you can say is hats off to the Cardinals. Definitely outcoached Kyle Shanahan and company. At 15, we have the Seattle Seahawks, like we just talked about, coming off that loss against the Giants. I mean, they have things to clean up. Coaching was horrific. Absolutely horrific in this one. Honestly, I think the players played well enough to win, but coaching was just very poor in this game. All around. Ryan Grubb would not run the football. Then you had Mike McDonald, he just didn't, it seemed like he didn't make adjustments. He just wanted to keep going with the same thing over and over and over again. And the Seahawks lose because of it. And now they're at 15 in the power rankings. And that DK Metcalf fumble was huge. Guy just can't keep the ball in his hands. At 14, we have the Chicago Bears coming off that 36-10 win against the Carolina Panthers. I mean, looking at the Chicago Bears, they're starting to find something. They're starting to find a spark under Matt Eberflus. You know what's really interesting about the Bears, though? The offensive line is playing a bit better, and that run game is really getting going. You got DeAndre Swift. He's finding lanes. I mean, he got up to a slow start. Everyone was going crazy over that signing, saying they shouldn't have paid him this and that, but he's making it worth it. He's making it worth it. At 13, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they are coming off a 20-17 home loss against the Dallas Cowboys. So this game was delayed, and the Steelers, they played well from start to finish, very physical, but Justin Fields in the passing game weren't able to really find much. George Pickens was frustrated all night. It was just a poor night on offense for the Steelers outside of a drive or two, and they're if the Steelers are going to want to win more games, they're going to have to find more innovative ways, because these 13-10, 18-10 wins aren't coming easy anymore. It's just not going to happen. And your guys are going to be exposed a bit. And Mike Tomlin's going to have to make adjustments. And looking at it, I mean, Justin Fields played well against the Colts, but he's got to play better. I mean, the accuracy was very poor last night, and I know the conditions weren't up to par to what they should be, but if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you just gotta play better football, more fundamental football. At 12, we have the Denver Broncos, and they are coming off a blowout win against the Raiders at home. Sean Payton's doing a really good job with this team. 3 wins in a row now. They had that, I believe, 4 or 5 game winning streak last year to get their season back on track, and now they're doing it again here. Can they keep it up? We'll see. But that defense is playing lights out. That secondary looks great. Pat Surtain, honestly, he's probably the best DB in the NFL right now. And Bo Nix even showing signs. Him and Sean Payton obviously exchanged some fiery words on the sideline, but those are 2 competitors right there. They're both competitive, and they want to win. And the Denver Broncos are doing it in style. At 11, we have the Buffalo Bills. They are coming off a pretty disappointing 20-23 loss against the Houston Texans. That game started off pretty poor. They're down 20-3, but the Bills were able to storm back, and Kaimi Fairbairn broke some hearts. 59-yard field goal. He's been terrific this season. And the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they have wins against the Cardinals, Jaguars, and the shorthanded Dolphins. I mean, they've now played the Ravens and Texans and have not looked great against either. I mean, they got to get something going, or Sean McVay is going to receive a ton of criticism over there in Buffalo. At 10, we have the Green Bay Packers coming off that 24-19 win against the Los Angeles Rams. The Green Bay Packers, I mean, another game where they looked a bit sloppy, but Matt LaFleur was able to make some second-half adjustments, and Jordan Love was able to play a cleaner second half. So there's that, but obviously there's things to work on, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You want to stay on the field a bit longer than you have. So, yeah. Don't just want to tire that defense out. At 9, we have the Dallas Cowboys. They are coming off that win against the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-17 on Sunday Night Football. So it was like Monday morning football at the end. So really solid win for the Dallas Cowboys nonetheless. Dak Prescott didn't play his best game. CeeDee Lamb didn't have any receptions outside of the first quarter. I mean, that was absolutely unbelievable. Not too sure what happened there, but the Cowboys, they were able to find a way. Jalen Tolbert really made a nice impact. He got hurt on this 3rd down and goal play. Then Mike McCarthy takes a timeout, get him fresh, puts him back in the game, calls a really nice play on 4th and goal. Got to be honest, I'm not a fan of Mike McCarthy. I think he's a pretty bad coach for the most part, but that was a terrific job by him in the end on that drive. Hats off to McCarthy, got to say. At 8, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are coming off a pretty heartbreaking overtime loss against the Atlanta Falcons. It's a tough one for Tampa. They choked a bit. Had the interception at the end, but Atlanta was able to get something going, and, Raheem Morris, very solid coach. just kind of outcoached Todd Bowles there in the end. But Baker Mayfield looked really good once again. That's the bright spot. And if the defense can get healthy and start to play up to par, then they could be a scary team in the NFC. At 7, we have the Atlanta Falcons, who beat the Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football. Kirk Cousins, he showed you why you paid him all that money. 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He looked terrific. So the Falcons, if you're looking, in that 1 interception was kind of a forced ball, which you kind of had to force. So that's not like a boneheaded play by Kirk. It's just one of those things that had kind of just happened. So the Atlanta Falcons, they look terrific. There's no doubt about it. And Raheem Morris is doing a really good job with this team. The defense doesn't look absolutely incredible, which, I mean, when you're playing a team like the Buccaneers, you're expecting either a low-scoring game or a shootout, so that's not too surprising. But the Falcons are finding ways. I think Darnell Mooney is making a really nice impact there, although he will have some drops here and there. At 6, we have the Houston Texans. They are coming off that 23-20 loss against the Buffalo Bills. The Texans, even though they've been sloppy for the most part of the season, find ways to be 4-1. That's what really good football teams do. My preseason Super Bowl pick, C.J. Stroud's finding ways, although he hasn't been, I don't believe he's been as good this year as last year, but, you know, and here's one, it might be a bit of a hot take. I'm an Ohio State fan. I love C.J. Stroud, but I do think Nico Collins has really helped him over these, especially this season. I think without Nico Collins, he's struggled to find lanes for, and his progressions really haven't been the same. Just hasn't been the same quarterback. And Nico Collins, you got to hope he can stay healthy. He's very valuable to this team nonetheless. And you got to get Joe Mixon back at some point. You got to stop sitting him out even though he is healthy. You got to stop going with this. We'll just rest him for this game. It's the NFL. Any game is 50-50. At 5, we have the Detroit Lions. They are coming off a bye week, and you know, they had a week to rest on that win against the Seahawks. Very good football game there for them coaching-wise and execution-wise. Jared Goff looks terrific. If you don't pressure the Lions, they're going to feast on you. And the defensive line is also creating more havoc than they have in years. At 4, we have the Baltimore Ravens coming off a 41-38 overtime win against the Bengals. They looked dead in the water for a bit, but then their offense kept responding here and there. It's just they were able to get to overtime. Big Marlon Humphrey interception. If he doesn't pick that off, they probably lose the game. And, you know, John Harbaugh found ways. He's been struggling with his coaching late in games, but he found a way here. And it looked like they were dead in the water as well with that fumble by Lamar Jackson in overtime, but they were able to, I mean, to be fair, it was just pretty poor coaching by Zach Taylor, not letting Joe Burrow cook with his arm and basically gaining no yards for a field goal. But the Ravens find a way. Derrick Henry is still a stud, even though he didn't have the most efficient game. At 3, we have the Washington Commanders coming off a blowout 34-13 win against the Browns. Like I said, with the Browns power ranking, the score doesn't indicate what the game really looked like. The Commanders dominated from start to finish, and they were just the better team. Jaden Daniels looks terrific once again. Terry McLaurin, who's their number 1 receiver. Ever since they talked about getting him more involved, they've gotten him more involved. De'Ami Brown had a nice game as well. He's starting to come into fruition for this team, and the Commanders' defense, the pass rush is very good today, and not too surprising. The Browns have the worst offensive line in football, but, I mean, there's definitely signs where if Dan Quinn's defense is going to continue to show some sparks, this is going to be a tough team to beat in the NFC. At 2, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a Monday Night Football game. They are 4-0. They've played sloppy football. Patrick Mahomes isn't playing great, and he will tell you that as well, but the Chiefs, they've found ways to be 4-0. They do need another receiver, especially for Rasheed Rice is on the shelf for this season. He will get a scope in his knee, so we don't know for sure. But if it will be 6 to 8 weeks or 6 to 8 months, but the Kansas City Chiefs still looking pretty good at 4-0. In that one, we have the 5-0, the only 5-0 team in football, the Minnesota Vikings. And they are coming off a 23-17 win against the New York Jets in London. Defense looked really good once again. 3 interceptions against Aaron Rodgers is very, very rare. And Aaron Rodgers threw 2 interceptions in the first quarter for the first time in his career today. So hats off to Brian Flores. He's going to be a very hot commodity going into the offseason for head coaching positions. Obviously, we talked about last week if there were 2 things maybe that could hurt his reputation for a head coaching position. It's his relationship with the player like Tua. It wasn't very, it just wasn't very ideal. And his lawsuit, which definitely turned a lot of heads. So the Minnesota Vikings look really good under Kevin O'Connell. Sam Darnold didn't play a great game. That's the only thing I'm worried about the Vikings. I'm not sure if Darnold can keep up this level of play. I honestly don't think he can, but the defense is so good that you just got to trust in the process. And they still have Justin Jefferson who can go up and catch any ball. So I appreciate everyone being here, sports expert here, and they do need to hope Aaron Jones is healthy. Because if he's out, that's not ideal. But they're still the number one in the power rankings. Going to stay up there until further notice. So I appreciate everyone being here, sports expert here. Please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Turn on the post notification bell. Like the video. Comment what you think. I'm out, guys. Sports expert here. Peace.